Hi everyone, I wanted to welcome you back to my channel. I received some amazing comments over the last few days and I just really want to just express my appreciation. Wow, I mean, you warmed my heart. I mean, seriously, like, I've never had comments like that before and I really appreciate it. And if I know that you enjoy this content, then I am more than happy to continue to make it for you and, try new things and move forward with a whole different slew of content. So today I was thinking I would read, whisper read from this classic book, The Three Musketeers, and really kind of put my reading skills to the test, because this is going to be an interesting read. But first, I want to light some incense and get a nice relaxing mood here. But we'll do some tapping too. It's an old print. I'm not even sure when it was printed. Let me see. Let's see when it was printed. If you hear squeaking, it's just my cat spinning on the computer chair. He just loves to mess around over there. That's his thing. Anyway, we'll get a mood set here. It would help to light the right end, right? And while I'm at it, nice soft candlelight here. If I can get it to light. There we go. Get a nice little ambiance here. I would like to light one more. There we go. Perfect. Try not to burn myself here. I have this nice candle right here. I'm gonna put that right here. Try to capture some light. Have a nice sip of my Diet Dr. Pepper. It's good. Alright. Gonna line that smoke, line it up in the camera so you can get that nice little effect here. In those times, panics were common, and few days passed without some city or other registering in its archives an event of this kind. There were nobles who made war against each other. There was the king who made war against the cardinal. There was Spain, which made war against the king. Then in addition to these concealed or public secret or open wars, there were robbers, mendicants, Huguenots, wolves, and scoundrels, who made war upon everyone. The citizens always took up arms readily against thieves, wolves or scoundrels, often against nobles or Huguenots. I might be saying that wrong, so I'm sorry. Sometimes against the king, but never against the cardinal or Spain. It resulted then from this habit that on the said first Monday of the month of April 1625, the citizens, on hearing of this clamor and seeing neither the red and yellow standard, the cause of this hubbub was apparent to all. A young man, we can sketch his portrait as at a dash. Imagine to yourself a Don Quixote of 18, a Don Quixote without his corset, without his coat of mail, without his ears. A Don Quixote clothed in a woolen doublet, a blue color of which had faded into a nameless shade between less of wine and a heavenly azure face long and brown, high cheekbones, and a sign of savagery. The maxillary muscles enormously developed, an infallible sign by which a Gascon may always be detected, even without his cap, and our young man wore a cap set off with a sort of feather, the eye open and intelligent, the nose hooked, but finely chiseled, too big for a youth, too small for a grown man. An experienced eye might have taken him for a farmer's son upon a journey had it not been for the long sword which dangled from a leather baldric hit against his calves of his owner as he walked, and against the rough stride of his steed when he was on horseback. For a young man had a steed which was the observed of all observers. It was a bairn pony from 12 to 14 years old, yellow in his hide, without a hair in his tail, but not without windgalls in his legs, which, though going with his head lower than his knees, rendering a martingale quite unnecessarily, contrived, nevertheless, to perform his 8 leagues a day. Unfortunately, the qualities of this horse were so well concealed under his strange colored hide and his unaccountable gait that at the time when everyone was a connoisseur in horse flesh, never sell it. Allow it to die tranquilly and honorably of old age, and if you make a campaign with it, take as much care of it as you would an old servant. At court, provided you have ever the honor to go there, continued D'Artagnan the elder, an honor to which, remember, your ancient nobility gives you right. Sustain worthily your name of gentleman, which has been worthy borne by your ancestors for 500 years, both for your own sake and the sake of those who belong to you. By the latter, I mean your relatives and friends. Endure nothing from anyone except Monsieur the Cardinal and the King. It is by his courage, please observe, by his courage alone, that a gentleman can make his way nowadays. Whoever hesitates for a second, perhaps allows the bait to escape. which during that exact second fortune held out for him. You are young. You ought to be brave for 2 reasons. The first is that you are a Gascon, and the second is that you are my son. Never fear quarrels, but seek adventures. I have taught you how to handle a sword. You have throws of iron and a wrist of steel. Fight on all occasions. Fight the more for duels being forbidden, since consequently there is twice as much courage in fighting. I have nothing to give you, my son, but 15 crowns, my horse, and the counsels you have just heard. Your mother will add to them a recipe for certain balsam, which she had from a Bohemian, and which the miraculous virtue of curing all wounds that do not reach the heart. Take advantage of all and live happily and long. I have but one word to add, and that is to propose an example to you, not mine, for I myself have never appeared at court, and I have only taken part in religious wars as a volunteer. I speak of Monsieur de Treville, who was formerly my neighbor, and who had the honor to be, as a child, the playfellow of our King Louis, whom God preserve. Sometimes their play degenerated into battles, and in these battles the king was not always the stronger. The blows which he received increased greatly his esteem and friendship for Monsieur de Treville. Afterwards, Monsieur de Treville fought with others, and in his first journey to Paris, 5 times from this death of the late king till the younger one came of age, without reckoning wars and sieges. 7 times from that date up to the present day, 100 times perhaps. So that in spite of edicts, ordinances, and decrees, there he is, captain of the Musketeers. That is a day, chief of a legion of Caesars, whom the king holds in great esteem, and whom the cardinal dreads. He who dreads nothing, and as is said, still further, Monsieur de Treville gains 10,000 crowns a year. He is therefore a great noble. He began as you. Go to him with this letter and make him your model, in order that you may do as he has done. Upon which D'Artagnan the elder girded his own sword around his son, kissed him tenderly on both cheeks, and gave him benediction. On leaving the paternal chamber, the young man found his mother, who was waiting for him with the famous recipe, of which the counsels we have just repeated would necessitate frequent employment. The adieu were on the side of the longer more tender than they had been on the other. Not that D'Artagnan did not love his son, who was his only offspring, but D'Artagnan was a man, and he would have considered it unworthy of a man to give way to his feelings, whereas Mademoiselle D'Artagnan was a woman, and still more a mother. She wept abundantly, and let us speak into praise of. Okay, so M is Monsieur, so it's abbreviated, and I did not know that, so we'll go back and say, and let us speak to it as praise of Monsieur D'Artagnan. Try that again. Monsieur D'Artagnan, the younger, notwithstanding the efforts he made to remain firm as a future musketeer on nature which he succeeded with great difficulty in concealing the half. I'm getting the hang of it. The lettering is a bit wonky. The same day, the young man set forward on his journey, furnished with the 3 parental gifts, which consisted, as we have said, of 15 crowns, the horse, and the letter for Monsieur de Treville, the counsels being thrown into the bargain. With such a vagueness, I can't read that D'Artagnan was mortally and physically an exact copy of the hero of Cervantes, to whom we so happily compared him when our duty of an historian placed us under a necessity of sketching his portrait. Don Quixote took windmills for giants and sheep for armies. D'Artagnan took every smile for an insult and every look as a provocation, whence it resulted from Tarbes to Mont, his fist was constantly doubled, and his hand on the hilt of his sword, and yet the fist did not descend upon any jaw, nor did the sword issue from its scabbard. It was not until the sight of the wretched pony did not excite numerous smiles on the countenances of passersby, but against the sight of this pony rattled a sword of respectable length, and as over this sword gleamed an eye rather ferocious and haughty. These passersby represented their hilarity, or if hilarity prevailed over prudence, they endeavored to laugh only on his side, like the masks of the ancients. D'Artagnan then remained majestic and intact in his skepticism till he came to an unlucky city of Mont. But there he was alighting from his horse at the gate of the Jolly Miller, without anyone, host, waiter, or coming to hold his stirrup or to take his horse. D'Artagnan spied through an open window on the ground floor a gentleman well made and good of carriage, although of rather a stern countenance, talking with 2 persons who appeared to listen to him with respect. D'Artagnan fancied quite naturally, according to his custom, that he must be the object of their conversation, and listened. This time D'Artagnan was only in part mistaken. He himself was not in question, but the horse was. The gentleman appeared to be enumerating all of his qualities to his auditors, and as I have said, the auditors seemed to have great defense for the narrator, and every moment burst into fits of laughter. Now, as a half smile was sufficient to awaken the irresistibility of the young man, the effect produced upon him by his vociferous mirth may be easily imagined. Nevertheless, D'Artagnan was desirous of examining the appearance of this impertinent personage who ridiculed him. He fixed his haughtily eye upon the stranger, and perceived a man from his 40 to 45 years of age, with black and piercing eyes, a pale complexion, a strongly marked nose, and a black and well-shaped mustache. He was dressed in a doublet and hose of a violet color, with aiguillettes of the same color, without any other ornaments than the customary slashes, through which the shirt appeared. The doublet and hose, though new, were creased like traveling clothes for a long time packed in a I guess it would be portmanteau. D'Artagnan made all these remarks with the rapidly of a most minute observer, and had doubtless formed an instinctive feeling that the stranger was destined to have a great influence over his future life. Oh, I'm not covering my face here. As the moment in which D'Artagnan fixed his eyes upon the gentleman in the violet doublet, the gentleman made one of his most knowing and profound remarks respecting the party's pony. And that is smudged. I'm going to assume he's, all contrary to his custom, allowed a pale smile, and if I may be allowed to use such an expression, to stray over his countenance. This time there could be no doubt D'Artagnan was really insulted. Full, then, of this conviction, he pulled his cap down over his eyes and endeavored to copy some of the court airs he had picked up in Gascony among young traveling nobles. He advanced with one hand on the hilt of his sword and the other resting on his hip. Unfortunately, as he advanced, his anger increased at every step, and instead of the proper and lofty speech he had prepared as a prelude to his challenge, he found nothing at the tip of his tongue but a gross personality, which he accompanied with a furious gesture. I say, sir, you, sir, who are hiding yourself behind that shutter. Yes, you. Sir, tell me what you are laughing at, and we will laugh together. The gentleman raised his eyes slowly from the nag to his cavalier, and as he was required some time to ascertain whether it could be to him that such a strange reproaches were addressed. Then, when he could not possibly ascertain any doubt of the matter, his eyebrows slightly bent with an accent of irony and insolence impossible to be described, he replied to D'Artagnan, I was not speaking to you, sir, but I am speaking to you, replied the young man, additionally exasperated with the mixture of insolence and good manners, of politeness and scorn. The stranger looked at him with a slight smile, and retiring from the window, came out of the hostelry with a sharp step and placed himself before the horse within 2 paces of D'Artagnan. His quiet manner and ironical expression of his countenance redoubled the mirth of the persons whom he had been talking, and who still remained at the window. D'Artagnan, seeing him approach, drew his sword a foot out of its scabbard. This horse is decidedly, or rather has been in his youth, a buttercup, resumed the stranger, continuing the remarks that had begun, and addressing himself to his auditors at the window, without paying the least attention to the exasperation of D'Artagnan, who, however, placed himself between him and them. It is a color very well known in botany, but till the present time very rare among horses. There are people who laugh at the horse that would not dare to laugh at its master, cried the young emulator of the furious Treville. I do not often laugh, sir, replied the stranger, as you may perceive by the expression of my countenance, but nevertheless, I retain the privilege of laughing when I please. And I, cried D'Artagnan, will displeases me." "Indeed, sir," continued the stranger, more calm than ever. "Well, that is perfectly right," and turned on his heel, was about to re-enter the hostelry by the front gate, beneath which D'Artagnan, on arriving, had observed a saddled horse. But D'Artagnan was not of a character who would to allow a man to escape him thus. Sorry, there's a truck going by. But D'Artagnan was not a character to allow a man to escape him thus who had the insolence to ridicule him. He drew his sword entirely from the scabbard and followed him, crying, "Turn, turn, Master Joker, and lest I strike you behind." "Strike me," said the other, turning on his heel and surveying the young man with as much astonishment as contempt. "Why, my good fellow, you must be mad." Then in a surprised tone, as if speaking to himself, "This is annoying," continued he. "What a godsend this would be for His Majesty, who is seeking everywhere for brave fellows to recruit for his musketeers." They had scarcely finished when D'Artagnan made such a furious lunge at him that if he had not sprung nimbly backwards, it is probable he would have jested for the last time. The stranger then perceived that the matter was beyond rivalry, drew his sword, saluted his adversary, and seriously placed himself on guard. But at the same moment, his two auditors, accompanied by the host, fell upon D'Artagnan with sticks, shovels, and tongs. This caused so rapid, so complete a diversion from the attack that D'Artagnan's adversary, while the latter turned around to face the shower of blows, sheathed his sword with the same precision, and instead of an actor, which he had nearly become a spectator of the fight, a part in which he equated himself, was his usual impassiveness, muttering, nevertheless, "A plague upon those Gascons! Replace him on an orange horse, and let him be gone." "Not before I have killed you, poltroon," cried D'Artagnan, making the best face possible, and never retreating one step before his three assailants, who continued to shower blows upon him. "Another Gasconade," murmured the guard gentleman. "By my honor, these Gascons are incorrigible. Keep up the dance." "Since he will have it so. When he is tired, he will tell us he has had enough." But the stranger knew not the headstrong personage he had to do with. D'Artagnan was not the man ever to cry for quarter. The fight was therefore prolonged for some seconds, but at length D'Artagnan dropped his sword, which was broken in two pieces by the blow of a stick. Another blow full upon his forehead at the same moment brought him to the ground, covered with blood and almost fainting. It was at this moment that people came flocking to the scene of action from all sides. The host, fearful of consequences, with the help of his servants, carried the wounded man into the kitchen, where some trifling attentions were bestowed upon him. As to this gentleman, he resumed his place at the window and surveyed the crowd with certain impatience, evidently annoyed by their remaining undispersed. "Well, how is it with this madman?" exclaimed he, turning around at the noise of the door, announcing the entrance of the host, who came to inquire if he was. "Your Excellency is safe and sound?" asked the host. "Oh yes, perfectly safe and sound, my good host, and I wish to know what has become of our young man." "He is better," said the host. "He fainted quite away." "Indeed," said the gentleman. "But before he fainted, he collected all his strength to challenge you and to resumed the host, in order that you may be on your guard. Did he name no one in his passion? Yes, he struck his pocket and said, "We shall see what Monsieur de Treville will think of this insult offered to his protege." "Monsieur de Treville," said the stranger, becoming attentive. He put his hand upon his pocket while pronouncing the name of Monsieur Treville. "Now, my dear host, while your young man was insensible, you did not fail, I am quite sure, to ascertain what that pocket contained. What was there in it?" "A letter addressed to Monsieur de Treville, captain of the Musketeers." "Indeed." "Exactly as I have the honor to tell your excellency." The host, who was not endowed with great perspicacity, did not observe the expression which his words had given to the physiognomy of the stranger. The latter rose the front of the window upon the sill, of which he had leaned with his elbow, and knitted his brows like a man disquieted. "The devil," murmured he between his teeth, "can Treville have set his Gascon upon me? He is very young, but a sword thrust is a sword thrust, whether be it the age of him who gives it, and the youth is less to be suspected than the older man." And the stranger fell into a reverie which lasted some minutes. A weak obstacle, and sometimes sufficient to overthrow a great design. "Host," said he, "could you not continue to get rid of this frantic boy for me? In conscience, I cannot kill him. And yet," added he, with a coldly menacing expression, "he annoys me. Where is he?" "In my wife's chamber on the first flight." "Were they dressing his wounds?" "His things and his bag are with him. He has taken off his doublet. On the contrary, everything is in the kitchen. But if he annoys you, this young fool—" "To be sure he does," he continued. "He causes disturbance in your upholstery, which respectable people could not put up with. Go, make out my bill, and notify my servant." "What, monsieur, will leave us so soon?" "What, monsieur, will you leave us so soon?" "You know that very well. I gave you the order to saddle my horse. Have they not obeyed me?" "It is done as your excellency may have observed. Your horse is in the great gateway, ready, saddled for your departure." Okay, I'm going to stop that. That is difficult read, especially since the print is very small. But I was hoping that maybe you might enjoy just a few paragraphs. Thinking of reading a little bit of Harry Potter, because that might be a little bit easier to kind of read. There's a lot of little side notations in here, and the print is a little smudged and a little small, so the lighting makes it a little difficult. But I was hoping maybe a slight distraction can help you get through some of these tough times, and just know that, we're all going through it, and all your positive comments and support really mean a lot to me. You really made my week, all of you. I love you all. Seriously, you have no idea, so thank you. I'm hoping that maybe I can come up with something a little bit better, but this is just something I can do. There's a quick thing. I'm in the middle of a move, so hopefully I can soundproof a room and get a little bit better quality for you. leave my mistakes in there just because I think it's funny that I saw them. Like, oh, that's D'Artagnan. They have other books like this. Maybe I can read a little bit better next time. Let's see, I have some little tools here that won't ruin my book. I kind of want to read the rest of it. I never actually read this one. I have a lot of classic books. I really want to read The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's one of my favorite books. I'm doing this lightly, it's not going to scratch anything. You can never mess up this print. This has been in my family for a good while. Again, thank you so much for watching my videos. Please subscribe, share, like, and help my channel grow. All of you are so amazing. Thank you so much. Take care, and I will see you soon with more content.